And this is what some other names that people call it. So it can be classed as philanthropy, which would be sort of volunteering and donating money to charity, that sort of thing. The definitions change quite a lot. It can also be called corporate social responsibility, or CSR. It can also be called public services, as I said, could also has social mobility wrapped into it as well. There's lots of different terms for it, and you could write a definition for them each, and each of them are a little different, but in essence, they're all the same. And the way that we describe it is, it's kind of, instead of considering value to be how much money somebody earns or how much money a business earns, it actually focuses on thinking beyond money as the main indicator of value, and it puts an emphasis on how social value activity. So getting somebody into work is a really socially valuable thing to do, and it has a benefit to the person, their families, and to society. And if you did want to put a pound sign on that, the saving it makes to the public purse by somebody not having to be accessing the benefits they would need to if they were unemployed can be between around £15,000 to £25,000, depending on the sort of benefits they gain. So what it does is it helps us to go, well, actually, if we do good things and help people get into work, then there is a more positive impact, because actually, instead of them having to claim benefits to support what they do, they've got the opportunity to support their family and all of those things that getting someone into work helps them to do. Their confidence, their this kind of breaks the cycle of unemployment and all of those things. So this is where we've now been sort of working in, is trying to kind of support different organisations where social value, and I'm going to use that word, but what I mean is it could be any of those words that I've got on the screen when I say it, when I talk about social value. We've been working now with organisations who have that as an objective, and I'm going to just talk you through why it's important. So I'm going to come back to those two slides in a minute. So I'm just going to talk you through a bit of a timeline. Back in 2012, when there was a public act that was launched called the Public Services or the Social Value Act, which says that any public sector organisation has to consider doing good as well as making money as part of their activity. And that then meant that anything you think that government money is spent on, so local authority, highways, rail, infrastructure, school canteens, cleaners, prison, anything like that that's government funded, has to oblige and has to make sure that they're delivering social value. They then in 2018 said, instead of considering it, we're going to make you do it. So suddenly now organisations are going, I don't know if I can win this or retain this work on this highways contract, because actually all I'm doing is making money. I might be laying the lovely roads, but I'm doing nothing to help employ local people. I'm doing nothing to help local sports organisations. I'm doing nothing to volunteer. I'm doing nothing to give my grounds team's expertise to the local school to finish off their playground, all those sorts of things. So what government has said is, if we're going to give you this money and you're going to earn money on it, we want you to do some good stuff as well as doing it. And that's where they said, we're going to make you do it. So now it's a must. So we launched a sort of social recruitment framework in response to that. That's what PeoplePlus thought we could do to help with that. And then the government has given some other kind of ideas of how social value could be delivered for businesses to consider. And then they went, right, instead of just saying you must do it, I'm now going to mandate how much of contracts are won on profit and social value purpose. So we've got a highways maintenance contract, if I continue with that example, and 70% of that contract would be awarded to that organisation if they could do the job, if they could mend the roads in the right time frame, in the right way, using the right materials, etc. But the 30% out and deliver it in within the cost envelope. But now they've got to find within 30% of the award, they've got to go what else they're going to do to give back to society in the course of doing that contract. And that might be, I need to recruit 5 apprentices. I'm going to work with PeoplePlus to run 10 sector-based work academies to help unemployed get into work. I'm going to donate this money to this cause. I'm going to run some alcohol awareness sessions with the local alcohol awareness charity. So what it forces them to do is to look at the problems within the region that they're bidding for. So what they'll do is, I'll take a live example. So we've been working with an organisation called Milestone, who are a highways maintenance infrastructure organisation, and we've been bidding with them for an Oxford Highways contract that they've been bidding for. And they've had to show in the next 25 years of the contract, what value is their contract going to give to Oxford? So they've had to, as part of their bid answer, talk about apprentices, they've had to talk about volunteering, they've also had to go, hang on, if we've got to show you what we're doing for 25 years, there's people that aren't even born yet that could be working on this contract. So actually, do I now need to do more with schools? Because I need to show what I'm going to do to help to maintain the legacy of what I'm doing here. So now they're starting to go, okay, well, let's have a look at primary schools, or even further back than that, and say, you know, what are the issues that people are finding, and like, how do we make sure that people are being moved through society in a really nice way? So it's forcing them to think much more purpose-led rather than profit-led, if that makes sense. So we recognise that lots of these organisations, unlike us, in PeoplePlus, we've been doing what is now called social value for over 30 years. The 1,500 people in this organisation do social value stuff. We help ex-offenders, we help offenders to learn, we get people into work. All of the things that we do is now called social value. So these organisations who are really good at highways maintenance and having security guards that are, you know, guarding the job centres, or who are delivering food, or who are supermarkets and all of those things, they've suddenly gone, that's not our expertise though. We might be good at being a supermarket, or maybe, how do you help people in society to, you know, get back into work? So they come to us because we do know. So this is where suddenly all the work we do across PeoplePlus becomes hugely valuable, because if you're an organisation that wants to learn how to do social value, are you going to go to an organisation that knows how to do it and has been doing it for 30 years and has got a really good track record? Yes, you absolutely are. And that's what we've been able to kind of build on. So our social recruitment advocacy group has grown significantly over the past 2 years. We started off with about 10 people around a virtual table. And the next event that we've got running at the end of this month is being hosted and sponsored by Lidl at their headquarters. And we'll have around 160 organisations attending it. It has grown arms and legs quicker than we could have imagined. And what we're doing is saying, if you want to work with us, let's share, let's work together, let's collaborate, let's share what good looks like, let's give some case studies, let's give some examples, let's help you understand the different demographics that we might be supporting. So let's do some sessions on supporting those who are neurodivergent, or those who are ex-offenders, or those. So we're able to kind of shape a bit of an itinerary or an agenda for organisations to be able to learn from us and the partners that we work with. And we charge them for it, because none of what we do is funded. So I have to find a way of doing good, but also making sure we can fund ourselves to continue doing good. So organisations like the Lidls, etc., they pay £5,000 a year to join our social recruitment advocacy group. So we make money from our membership. And we also make money from organisations that then want to tap into more of our knowledge and want to buy consultancy days from us, or they want to work with us on a particular project. G4S is our biggest consultancy client. We are their social value partner. They pay us monthly for X amount of days, 7 days a month, for us to be able to consult, advise and guide and do social value for and with them. And that's where we're building. So this business 14 months ago had earned nothing from employers. And we've, over the last 14 to 18 months, reshaped it and found something that's valuable, that employers want, and found a way to monetize the knowledge and the experience we've gained over the last 30 years in doing what we do. So the Social Recruitment Advocacy Group is chaired by Anne Milton. What I'll also do is I'll pop some links, or I'll kindly ask marketing if you wouldn't mind to send some links out afterwards to just some of the videos, so you can kind of get a feel for what they look and feel like and what some of our members say. But it's grown arms and legs. And what we've also done is developed something called a charter mark, because employers kind of can come to the meeting, but they want to understand where they are, like, what does good look like? What's the art of the possible in this social value space? So we help them to go through a charter mark, which is kind of like a checklist of things they do to get a bronze, silver, gold or ambassador level. And they can then start to see, I don't offer guaranteed interviews. I can't go to silver until I now find a way in my business to offer guaranteed interviews for unemployed. So this is where we're now starting to help employers to evolve and shape what they do. And then after that, the group said, do you know what? We would love to launch a covenant. There's the Care Leavers Covenant that supports people who've come from a cared for background. There's your Armed Forces Covenant that's there to support armed forces. But in the world of equality and diversity and all of those good things, actually the covenants are quite demographic specific. Armed forces and care leavers, as isn't. Ours is a social recruitment covenant that is all encompassing. And the reason being is that it's difficult to put people in one box. So you might be an ex-offender, but you could also be homeless and neurodivergent and a care leaver. So where do you go to help? Like, which is the covenant or the organisation you support? And if you look at it from an employer's perspective, they then have to sign up to multiple covenants with lots of different criteria, and it becomes quite onerous in some cases for them to do. So we wanted to support with a more inclusive, ironically, broad covenant where they can pledge what works for their organisation. And the other thing that we've tried to help employers to see is that yes, of course, we want to be inclusive and diverse, but we also recognise that some employers have different demographics that really, really thrive in their organisations. I'll take G4S. As much as they may love to and want to recruit an ex-offender in their security business, you cannot have an SIA licence if you have a criminal record. So they can't, no matter how inclusive they want, they just can't, because they then can't license. But armed forces leavers do really well there. So instead of trying to kind of keep plugging away, go, oh God, we're not being very diverse or inclusive, they lean into the Social Recruitment Advocacy Group and go, but this organisation over here, Milestone, do really well with ex-offenders, but we do well with veterans. So between the group, we're able to help them, to help the demographics that thrive, but as a collective, help more. Does that make sense? So these are our clients. So nearly all of these pay £5,000 a year plus any additional consultancy for the work that we do. And I have a plea and I have an ask of all of you. Have more ideas of things we can do to help employers with their social value. So you might be sat there and thinking, we could take the in-work support staff that we do for Restart, and I think we might be able to help an employer to help people who are moving into their business to have an in-work support service to help their retention of ex-offenders, for example. Or we could think about the expertise we've got in our people team and go, hang on, managing conflict, we could probably offer that as a course that employers could lean into. Or our HR services, we could help you to recruit social value managers going forwards, because actually there isn't any recruitment agency that specialises in social value managers at the minute, but we probably know what they look like. Or we could provide a service that really helps employers to understand why unpaid carers need the help they do to retain and work within their workplace, or many other things that you guys will be able to think of. So my plea to you is, what else could we offer? And employers don't know what they don't know, and they don't know our sector like you do. So you guys are absolutely the best place to come up with ideas and suggestions that we could then turn into products and services that we can promote and sell to employers. And we can start to reduce the amount of reliance we have as an organisation on government funded activities and balance it out a little more with commercial activities.